Alright, today I'm going to tackle one of the messy jobs that I've kind of been not looking forward to. I'm going to add a power steering cooler. I bought this one. It's from Disraeli. It's like one of their more basic ones. But I think it's going to work out pretty good. I'm going to remove the factory airbox just to kind of give me some more room to work down in here. Because I'm going to pull all the old fluid out of this first. Try to flush it really good before I add this cooler. There it is. That's all there is to it. I got my bumper off at the moment, so I figured this is the perfect time to be working up here close to the grill and the radiator. Alright, let me see what we get out of here. I'm expecting it to be pretty brown. It looks like motor oil. That's very brown. Oh, God. Oh, the smell. That's bad. Oh, God. It's pretty bad. It smells... Oh, it smells really burnt. It smells about as good as it looks. Let's just say that. Okay, so here's the low pressure line right here that comes off of the power steering pump and goes back to the reservoir. Let's see if I can just clamp this right here, cut this little crimp sleeve off down here off of the steel line, put the new line on that old steel line, and then just dump a bunch of new fluid into the system, turn the wheel back and forth a bunch, and just see if I can pump clean fluid out of there and get a fresh start. Then I'll put the return line from the cooler right here and put that line that I'm flushing everything out of onto the cooler. So the cooler is sending cool fluid back to the reservoir, which is then being drawn to the pump. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. So there's the old clamp. That is on there. Can get to it pretty good right here next to the driver's tire. I took a razor blade, cut a slit through it right there. I'm trying to get that old rubber hose off. I got it. I got it, and it actually went into the catch pan for the most part. Got it. All right. Clamps. It's virtually impossible to get a camera shot of this, so I apologize. Alright, I'm ready to start filling the reservoir and turning the wheels back and forth. I got it jacked up, held up with some jack stands, and I got the return line from the pump going into my little jar here so I can start to see when it's turning the correct color. Alright, so I'll get my helper in here, and I'm using ATF plus 4. Hey, my lovely assistant, are you ready?
Yes. Should I start?
No, yeah, let me get some fluid in the reservoir real quick. Alright, go for it. Smooth and steady. Oh yeah, it's going. Alright, go a little more.
To the left?
Either way, it doesn't matter. Just finish which, yeah, it doesn't matter.
I think the left. Okay, stop.
Go to the center, return to center. Alright, I think it's actually flushed already. Alright. Alright, so it's got new fluid, it's all flushed out, I'm ready to mount the cooler. I think I'm going to mount it right here on the right side of the radiator. That way I have plenty of room for my transmission cooler, which once I install that. So this is like your basic style, like the tube and fin or whatever it's called. I do think those long, you know, like heat sink styles, I do think those are a better cooler, like more like a superior cooling option, but I went with this because I can just slide it up in front of the radiator like this, and I don't need to like take the radiator off or move the grill around or do anything. I can just install it really easily right there, just like that. So let me get that first hose cut to length, and then I will start putting the other hose on. I probably should have put the new hose on the reservoir before pumping it, you know, before flushing it out, because I'm going to lose the fluid that's in the reservoir, the clean fluid that's in there, but whatever, it'll be fine. Alright, so I want to route this kind of like through this little gap right here between the radiator and the top of the steering pump, or steering box. That way it's like completely out of the way, and there's nothing moving around that's going to catch it. I just got a 3/8 bolt threaded into the end of this hose right here. Keep it from leaking all over the place. Alright, I forgot to hit record when I started this, but I use one of these that you can get, you know, for like PEX and stuff. Cut it, cut perfectly like butter, and now I'm just sticking this this hose on the end of the cooler here. It's a pretty tight fit, but it is going on. I put a little bit of ATF on this barb so that it would slide on a little easier. Turn this guy down a little. Now I'll put this side on. Get some ATF on it. Alright. Okay, let's mount this thing. Go through the fins. Sticky side down. And then insert so I'm going to route this guy through here, down. There we go. Alright. A little tedious, but I got it in there, and it's pretty much vertical. And I got the clamps facing out, the screws facing out, so I can always tighten or loosen those if I need to. And it is heavily favored to the right side of the radiator so that I can put my transmission cooler over there. Working on Jeeps, so much fun. Okay. Now I'm just going to cut the extra off, and that is pretty much it for the actual cooler. Alright. So I'm kind of holding it up where I want to cut the line. Okay, so the only thing left to do is disconnect this factory return line and connect the new line that's coming up from the cooler. Probably going to lose a lot of fluid here. I probably should have done this a little different, like put the new hose on first, but whatever, it's too late now. That's not what I wanted. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Just need to tighten this thing up. Tighten this clamp up. Alright, so I'm going to get my assistant back in here and we're going to do the bleed again, just to make sure there's no air in this thing. And then I'm going to zip tie these lines up pretty good. I might take an old piece of radiator hose or something and zip tie it around where it passes between the fan shroud or the radiator and the power steering box, and just make sure that it doesn't get rubbed by anything. You know, if I'm going down a washboardy road or something, it's not constantly hitting something metal and rubbing a hole in it. But otherwise, I think we're done. Your arm's tired yet? Alright, so I got a radiator hose here. I don't even know what this is from, but I'm going to use like a 4 or 5 inch little section of it and put it around these power steering lines where they go between the radiator, the grill, the power steering box, and all that stuff. Somebody suggested that I add a power steering filter as well to this, and I think that's definitely something I'm going to look into. There's so many little chunks of just stuff that came out of here, and when I was dumping this out into my recycling bottle, these little chunks were in there, and I thought that was like from my gears, because the last thing I drained into this pan was my gear oil, and I was scared that I'd missed like some metal chunks or something, but this pan was clean, and all these little chunks that are coming out are like just balls of mud. They're not metal. They're just nasty, dirty stuff. I don't know. So definitely going to look into a filter. I'm sure this box and this pump will be replaced at some point. And whenever I replace them with whatever I choose to do, a reman box and a reman pump, or if I go big and do all PSC or whatever I end up doing, at that point, I'm definitely thinking I'm going to add a filter to keep crap like that out of the system, because that was pretty surprising, seeing all that stuff. Alright, so really hard to get a camera down in there to see what's going on, but there's how the lines are coming up from the cooler. And right there where they're going into the engine bay is where I'm going to put where I'm going to wrap them up with some radiator hose. There we go. I'll just zip tie that around it. Alright, kind of hard to see, but it's in there. Alright, so that should keep it from getting tore up.
Put on the brake and just crank it. What do
Yep.
you say?
Yep. Alright, go for it. Oh. Yep, don't worry about it. Turn it off. It would help if I hooked the battery up.
Oh.
You're doing good, babe. Okay, are you ready now?
Yes,
Alright.
that's better.
That is better. Excellent job.
Oh, stinky.
Yes. Alright, so that's done. I don't see any leaks. Fluid looks really good in the reservoir. It's not brown anymore. I'm sure this is going to help, but it probably won't solve the real problem I'm having. I'm sure the pump and the box need to be replaced, one or both. So I'm going to drive it around like this, see how it does. Definitely going to add a filter setup if and when I change the pump or the box, because that was pretty eye-opening seeing what was in that pan after I drained it. So while I still got the bumper off, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the transmission cooler next, just because I have so much more room to work without it up here. I can stand right here and look directly in front of the radiator. So I'll get that knocked out, then I'll get the bumper and the winch and everything back on it, and then start knocking out some other stuff on the list. So more to come.